So today we're going to talk about episode 10, season 3, and the title is Fly. So this is a very special episode than other episode because I think 90% of the time of this one set up in the lab and no other occasions or other locations. Everything in this episode happened in the lab. So I even look into the comments on this one beforehand, and they could basically divide it into two parts. And these two parts are totally different. They were like polarized because some people thought this one was classical. There's a lot, it contains a lot of deep meanings inside of it. But some people said, oh, this one was totally boring and there was not much things going on in this one. So whatever the common is, uh, this I could say this is very special episode in this series. And the story was all about Jesse and Walter. They were chasing one housefly in a lab. So the episode it started out with Walter lying on the bed, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and he couldn't sleep. He kept staring at the he kept staring at the red flashing light on the fire alarm on the ceiling until 6 in the morning. So he woke up early and then he got to work. So there was not much things going on when they were cooking, but in the final step, when he was calculating the final yields of the meth they produced that day, he found that he couldn't really add up the numbers, and he told Jesse that they should be netting more than they're netting. So we all know why this was because Jesse every day he stole a very small portion of the yields they produce, and so he could sell to other people in other occasions. He wanted to like go off on his own. We know that we talked about that in previous episode. So Jesse was afraid of Walter finding out the truth. So he tried to come up with maybe some excuses to Walter that could perfectly explain the shortage of the yield. So he told Walter that maybe it was because you didn't, uh, maybe it was because you didn't take the vestige into account, some remainders inside of the vat after the cook. So yeah, Walter thought, yeah, that's probably was the thing I missed. So he was trying to recalculate the result. But when he was doing that, there was a fly kept flying around him, and he was so annoyed. So he tried to get to that fly with every tools that he had with his hand around him, but he just couldn't get to that. And he even climbed up the stairs and tried to hit it with the broom, but he fell off from the second floor and hit his head, and he passed out. So he stayed in the lab the whole night without coming home. So the next day, when Jesse came to the lab for that day work, he found Walter's car was outside already. So he went downstairs and he tried when he was about to open the door of the lab, the door was very hard to open because Walter turned on the ventilation system and he tried to push that fly out of the lab with the positive pressure. So Walter told Jesse there were some contaminations inside the lab. And when Jesse heard about this in the first place, he was freaked out. He thought it was like Ebola or something. But Walter told him it was just a housefly. And he tried to convince Jesse that even though it sounds stupid, but a housefly could be a big problem for their cook. It could contaminate their product. So Jesse thought he was a totally lunatic and he wanted to start off uh, no matter what, he wanted to start off their cook that day because the timer had already set off. So, but Walter did not allow him to do that, and he even hit Jesse with the swatter he made himself, and hit him with his on his arm. So Jesse said it was hurt, and he was angry. But when he was pissed off and he was shouting at Walter, Walter suddenly lowered his voice and he turned to Jesse that the fly was on his head. So he asked Jesse to get to that for him. So Jesse took the opportunity and he took the swatter from Walter and he hit Walter with the swatter on his head. So, he got his revenge, and he also told Walter that he had already got to that fly, and he pointed to a black spot on the ground, and he said that was the body of the fly. But when Walter came up to that, it was just a razor. So he was disappointed, and he told Jesse that there was actually no room for them to make mistakes, especially when they were working with cooperate with these people. And he even acted like he was about to cry. The tears fall off his eyes. So you know, Jesse saw that and he couldn't really understand why he got so emotional. So he proposed to him that maybe they could get upstairs, get outside, and got some fresh air. So maybe that helps them with coming out new ways to get to that fly. When they were about to leave the lab, Walter locked him outside of the lab and told him angrily that if he did not want to help him and leave him be. So Jesse went upstairs and he turned off the electricity. He cut off the electricity and then he went out to buy some insect repellents. So he went back to the lab and he told Walter that if he really wanted to deal with this fly, then he had to do this the right way. So they hit up the long strap with hormones on it, and it's a trap to catch flies. And they hang all those straps inside the lab. And Jesse proposed to Walter they could take a break and just let that strap do the work. So Jesse poured a coffee to water and he added some sleeping pills inside of it. But Walter did not see that. So uh, he drank it anyway. So when Jesse wanted to kind of set his mind at ease and make him relaxed. So he shared a story with his aunt back to the day when he was alive. And he said that uh, on uh, he said that there was once that there was a big possum got inside his aunt's house, and they asked some people to get that to catch that possum, and they succeeded. But his aunt did not believe that. He still always thought this possum was inside of her house, and she even gave her a name. So the reason why she's doing like this was because of the cancer. The cancer had already metastasized to her brain. So that's why she acted totally strange and different. So when Jesse finished his story, Walter told him that he went to the doctor a few days ago and he was still in remission. So he was healthy and don't worry about his health condition. And when he was talking, the sleeping pills seemed kicked in. So he started rambling. He said that he missed some perfect moment, that this perfect moment allows him to earn enough money and without getting his family find out what he was up to. So he tried to uh, come up with that moment in the past. And then he thought of something. He turned to Jesse and told him that back to on the day that Jane died, he went to a bar and he met this total stranger that engaged him in in a conversation. And this guy turned out to be Jane's father, Donald Mogolas. So he said that the odds are the odds were totally uh, it's very low. But on that night, when Jane died, he was the one with the man in the bar. So he made his conclusion that maybe that night was the perfect night. If he could stay in his house and watch the TV with the nature program about elephants and listen to Skylar singing lullaby to Holly from the baby monitor, probably everything would have been different from now. So he regretted he left his house on the night. So when he talked about this, uh, both of them saw that fly stop on the ceiling, and Jesse he wanted to uh, make Walter feel ease. So he put the ladder. He take out the ladder and he climbed up to it, try to hit that fly on the ceiling. And Walter was down there and he hold the ladder for him to stabilize him. So he told Jesse when he told Jesse when he was trying to get to that fly, he told Jesse that he was sorry. He was so sorry about Jane's death. And Jesse replied that he missed her as well. But what Walter really meant was that he was so sorry about doing nothing and watch Jane die that night. But Jesse, he couldn't really get to the point that Walter was trying to make because he did not know what was going on the night, right? So Walter then told him that just leave it be. We need to start our cooking. We needed to start our cooking. So Jesse climbed down this ladder and then tried to put away all the stuffs. But when he climbed down, he saw that fly stop on the top of the ladder. So he took the opportunity and killed it with the newspaper that he had with his hand on his hand. So he finally succeeded. But Walter, when he turned to Walter and tried to tell him that he succeeded, Walter had already fell asleep. So he took Walter to the little room and then let him sleep there. And he finished the cook that day. So on the final part of this episode, Walter got back to house and he went to bed. But in the midnight, he was woke up by the noise of the fly. And he woke up and he stared at the red flashing light on the fire alarm on the ceiling that we talk about this in the first part of the summation. He looked at the red flashing light and it seems he could see that the shadow of the fly. So even though Jesse killed that fly, but that fly, the shape, the the image of this fly really got inside his brain, and he couldn't get rid of it, uh, just like Jesse's aunt. So that was the end of the episode. So I think the whole point about this episode was that this fly represented the fear to the cartel of water, and he tried to get that out of his mind, but he couldn't. He couldn't succeed it. He couldn't succeed in that. And he also showed his deep concern to Jesse, and he had already took him as one of his family. So that's why on the night of Jane died, on the night that Jane died, he went back to his house, tried to wake him up because he concerned him a lot. So that's pretty much about this episode. And yeah, it was a very special one